Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Mike Morand. I have the great good fortune and privilege of working on communications and community engagement here at Beinecke Library and in Yale Library Special Collections. All of us today and every day at Yale acknowledge that Indigenous peoples and nations, including the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill Paugussett, Niantic, Quinnipiac, and other Algonquian-speaking peoples have stewarded through generations the lands and waterways of what is now the state of Connecticut. Today and every day, let us honor and respect the enduring relationship that exists between these peoples and nations in this land. Today and every day, let us also hear and heed the voices and stories of generations past and present who have fought against racism, white supremacy, state violence, and systems of oppression, and who have fought for liberation, joy, and freedom. Today's program features a number of voices of joy in celebration of Valentine's Day. This Mondays at Beinecke features staff and friends of the library sharing selections of writings about love, love letters, and Valentines from the collections. We are grateful to these 7 readers who are you about to hear. Note that this afternoon, you will hear just a brief selection of a few relevant materials. The collections in Yale Library Special Collections are vast, and the materials that speak to love are voluminous. Today, again, is just a brief sample to encourage you to explore more on your own. And as but one example, there are lots of things related just to love and marriage, such as the ketubah on the right or the marriage certificate on the left of Frederick Douglass Jr. and Virginia Hewlett. Thinking of Douglass Jr., note that today, February 14th, is Douglass Day, the birthday of his father, Frederick Douglass Sr. Born enslaved, Douglass chose to celebrate February 14th as his birthday, remembering that his mother called him her, quote, little Valentine. So today would be a good day, Douglass Day, to explore collections related to Douglass. To get us started, we will hear a selection from the Bible. The Bible on view here in the library is the Gutenberg Bible, which is a Vulgate Latin text. Most of us are probably not fluent in Latin. So our first reader, Michelle Light, the marvelous new director of the Beinecke Library, will share an English language translation of a well-known scripture on love. Michelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is from the New American Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 to 13. If I speak in human and angelic tongues, but do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clashing cymbal. And if I have the gift of prophecy and comprehend all mysteries and all knowledge, if I have all faith so as to move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away everything I own, and if I hand my body over so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not jealous, it is not pompous, it is not inflated, it is not rude, it does not seek its own interests, it is not quick-tempered, it does not brood over injury, it does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. If there are prophecies, they will be brought to nothing. If tongues, they will cease. If knowledge, it will be brought to nothing. For we know partially and we prophesy partially, but when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I used to talk as a child, think as a child, reason as a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish things. At present, we see indistinctly as in a mirror, but then face to face. At present, I know partially, then I shall know fully as I am fully known. So faith, hope, love remain, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, we will hear a poem about Valentine's Day by the poet William Carlos Williams. Listen now to his poem on St. Valentine's Day, read by Claire Barnes. Claire, the floor is yours.
Thank you. On St. Valentine's Day. On St. Valentine's Day, I went to seek my love, up one street and down another. My heart was heavy because I had nothing to give her. What should I say? The streets were empty, so I met no one. Yet I knew she could not be far, for the sun was shining merrily. Old though you find me and penniless, I said to the silence of the garden, I shall take courage, for Snowdrop is about to blossom, smiling at me from my own yard, smiling up at me from my own yard. I love you, I said to the flower, knowing my love shall not be lost, knowing that I am not mistaken.
Thank you, Claire. Next, we turn to the correspondence of Georgia OKeefe and Alfred Stieglitz, much of which has been published in the book My Faraway One, out of the Beinecke Library collections. Tobias Cropper and Claire Barnes will share some brief excerpts from OKeefe and Stieglitz. Tobias and Claire, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Alfred Stieglitz, New York City, May 26, 1918. These are excerpts. Dearest child, what do I want from you? You say I seem to need you, that you need me less than I need you. That's true in a way. Still, it's not entirely fair to me or to you. Sometimes I feel I'm going stark mad, that I ought to say, dearest, you are so much to me that you must not come near me. Coming may bring you darkness instead of light. And it's an everlasting light. You should live. Your living is important. That's what I want. My living is really not important. I am young in spirit, as a spirit of some use. Otherwise, truly, hopelessly unfit. Of course, I'd love to see you, talk to you, be with you, hear all you have to say, and tell you all I have to say. What do I want from you? Perhaps one big kiss to put me to sleep and give me peace forever. I want to know you strong and well. I want to know you free. My love for you is so great, as wonderfully pure. It's not the physical self seeking your physical self. I don't know what it is. Madness, I guess. Madness, like 291.
Thank you, Claire. I will be reading from OKeefe. This is a later actually in the earlier stages of their relationship before they get married, where Stieglitz sends fellow painter Rebecca Strand to Texas to discover if OKeefe would consider moving to New York. And OKeefe and Strand arrive in New York around this time, and OKeefe moves into a studio apartment on East 59th Street that Stieglitz's niece is not using. You will be here in a few minutes, I guess, but I have to get up and write you. It's necessary. I must. I've been lying here listening for you in the dark. My face feels so hot, aching for you, way down to my fingers' ends, an actual physical ache. As I came up the street into the sunset after supper, I wondered, can I stand it? The terrible fineness and beauty of the intensity of you. I do not know. May yet have to run away. It seems almost too much. The hot setting, sun so brilliant, shining white, I could hardly walk toward it. And lying here, wanting you with such an all over ache, not just wanting, loving, feeling, and all the parts of my body touched and kissed, conscious of you. A volcano is nothing to it. No words, I know, say the hotness, consumingness of it. Still, I have some way, feel I can be quiet when you come, can control myself. Feeling it growing though, I seem to feel that the moment will come when I can't control myself, when I'll be blind and mad. I have to tell you, I know you know, and still, maybe you don't know how really mad I seem to be growing. You will have to think for me when I cannot think for myself. Trust. Why do you know? The trust I have in you is the finest thing I've ever known. It's absolute. The woman you are making seems to have gone far beyond me and almost out of sight. And as I go out into the street, I seem to feel that I am solid stupidity of the most unmoving kind all the way through. Feeling stolen, almost too much. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Tobias and Claire. Next, we go to materials in the Countee Cullen collection, namely correspondence with Harold Jackman, donated by Jackman. Listen now to excerpts from letters Countee Cullen wrote to Harold Jackman, read by Tim Young. Tim, the floor is yours.
Letter from Countee Cullen to Harold Jackman, sent from 30 Hastings Hall, Cambridge, Massachusetts, September 28th, 1925. Dear Harold, this letter is for your private consumption, inasmuch as it may contain confessions and descriptions of things that might not be approved by more orthodox minds. In the first place, I slept in silk pajamas last night. Talk of the thrill that comes only once in a lifetime, that was one. Taffy-colored silk pajamas. You see, one of our brothers gave a small party to celebrate my coming to Cambridge, and the celebration was so strenuous and so lasting that it was out of the question for me to think about going back to my rooms, hence the silk pajamas and the splitting headache all this blessed day. Now, don't you get the idea that I was up here running wild? Fact is, classes don't begin for me until Friday. If I don't get to New York for Thanksgiving, won't you try to come up here? I can promise you a fine time. Write soon and tell me all the dirt. Your affectionate friend, Countee. Same writer, same location, October 31st, 1925. Dear Harold, I'm rather rushed for time due to the fact that I am moving. So this will be a mere note to be atoned for later on. Do try to get here the night before the Yale game. That is, get here Friday night, November 20th, as the local chapter is giving a big dance for me, for which I am being taxed $5. I want you to be there, so I'll feel that I'm getting my money's worth.
Our next love letters are from the more than 3,000 letters in the collections between Russell Cheney and F.O. Matthiessen. Selections of this extraordinary correspondence have been published in the book Rat and Devil. Listen now to brief excerpts from letters Cheney wrote to Matthiessen at the beginning of their relationship. Tim Young will offer a brief selection. Tim, the floor is yours again.
Russell Cheney to F.O. Matthiessen from the Venetia Hotel, Paris, September 18th, 1924. Well, it's true, isn't it? Our union is complete. Love is stronger than death, stronger than sin, even than old habits. Now, boy, I better quit. Someday the first letter I've ever had from you will come in. My God, feller, do you happen to realize how a short time ago we waved goodbye on the pier there? And I will to Venice, and you will go to Oxford. And what's that to us with December before us? Goodbye now. I love you and will live as though you were at my side. Rat. Russell Cheney to Matthiessen, Florence, Italy, December 2nd, 1924. Devil, dear. But oh, goddamn my own dev, you're coming and I'm happy, just plain fool happy. And then Cheney closes the letter with a passage from Walt Whitman from his poem, When I Heard at the Close of Day. And when I thought how my dear friend, my lover, was on his way coming, oh, then I was happy. Oh, then each breath tasted sweeter, and all that day my food nourished me more, and the beautiful day passed well. And the next came with equal joy, and with the next at evening came my friend. And that night, while all was still, I heard the waters roll slowly, continually up the shores. I heard the hissing rustle of the liquid, and sands, as directed to me, whispering to congratulate me. For the one I loved most lay sleeping by me under the same cover in the cool night. In the stillness and the autumn moonbeams, his face was inclined toward me, and his arm lay lightly around my breast. And that night I was happy.
Our next love letter is from the Walter Francis White and Poppy Cannon papers. Frank Mitchell will read a letter from White to Cannon. Frank, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and happy Valentine's Day. The Hotel Gibson, Cincinnati, Ohio, January 11th, 1949. My very, very beloved. I've just shooed a bunch of newspaper reporters, including Bob Taft's son, who is swell, out of the room so I can take a bath and write you. I must put in an appearance at a Chamber of Commerce luncheon meal with the local branch executive committee at 5, go to a dinner at 6, speak at 8, and attend a reception after that. Ora pro nobis. I've had a succession of blue moments since leaving you. Part of the cause is a series of pains, none of them severe, but distinct enough to pierce me. One came around 3 this morning, and I never felt so alone or depressed in my life as I did as I lay there in my berth. Hanging like a cloud over me was the chilling fear that possibly I haven't as many years left as we dream of. Infinitely more terrible was the prospect of my becoming a burden to you. That I could not stand. Along with those fears, darling, is the thing which has haunted and plagued me with increasing devastation these recent weeks. What our marriage will do to the children. In New York, it does not seem to be so bad, but out here, and even more south of here, the subtle as well as the vicious things done to colored people make me sick at the stomach when I wake up during the night and think of such things being done to our children. The kicking around Jane has taken these last few months are bad enough, but the being colored has in a way acted as a sort of shock absorber. Saying this sounds callous, I know, but how much more devastating may be the blows which inevitably will be thrown at Sin, Alfie, Claudia, and our children. Darling, please don't think me neurotic or guilty of conjuring up nameless fears. I have wrestled with these possibilities many hundreds of tortured hours during recent months. When I am near you, the warmth of your love drives those fears away. So does your courage and your unconsciousness of color make me ashamed of the doubts which plague me when I'm away from you. But it is because I love Sin, Alfie, Claudia, so much, I must tell you how worried I am. And even greater than my love for them is the all-consuming adoration I have for you, which is the one great reality of my life. I worship you, Poppy. Being close to you every minute of the rest of my life is the only thing on earth that matters. But I am terrified by the prospects of blighting the lives of our kids and your own through the hideous cruelties bigots can loose on you, and the possibility of my becoming an invalid or dying, leaving you the burden of raising and educating the children. I write you this gloomy letter so that you and I can talk this over Saturday to find a way out if there is a way out. You have told me often that I was wrong when I said I wished that I had concentrated more on earning more money or worked a job which would have made me less vulnerable. What I say now may sound disloyal to the association or to whatever principles by which I have lived. It isn't. I mean it from the bottom of my heart when I say that I would gladly give up every bit of the publicity or reputation I've gathered if I could, and thereby take away from the enemies I've made the weapons they could use against you and the children. Oh God, darling, I'm bewildered if only I knew the answer as surely and completely as I know. I love you. Walter.
Thank you, Frank. Our penultimate reading features excerpts from the Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas papers. Anna Franz will share excerpts of notes from Stein to Toklas. Anna, the floor is yours.
My dearest, because I didn't say good night and I miss it, so please know now how much I love you. Gertrude, dearest, good night. Baby love, call your dove. She's your own, she's not gone, just quietly waiting, knowing always she's mating with her adored own boy.
And our final words come from the great James Weldon Johnson, in particular from his first poetry collection, published in 1917 and dedicated to his beloved Grace Nail Johnson, the collection 50 Years and Other Poems. Karen King will read two poems by James Weldon Johnson. Karen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mike. The Awakening. I dreamed that I was a rose that grew beside a lonely way, close by a path none ever chose, and there I lingered day by day. Beneath the sunshine and the shower, I grew and waited there apart, gathering perfume hour by hour and storing it within my heart, yet never knew just why I waited there and grew. I dreamed that you were a bee, that one day gaily flew along. You came across the hedge to me and sang a soft love burden song. You brushed my petals with a kiss. I woke to gladness with a start and yielded up to you in bliss the treasured fragrance of my heart. And then I knew that I had waited there for you. Beauty that is never old. When buffeted and beaten by life's storms, when by the bitter cares of life oppressed, I want no surer haven than your arms. I want no sweeter heaven than your breast. When over my life's way, there falls the blight of sunless days and nights of starless skies, enough for me, the calm and steadfast light that softly shines within your loving eyes. The world for me, and all the world can hold, is circled by your arms. For me, there lies within the lights and shadows of your eyes, the only beauty that is never old.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you to all of our 7 readers. And from us to all of you, thank you for your love for libraries and engagement with the Beinecke Library. As we close, we invite each and all of you to share in the chat your words of love on this Valentine's Day for libraries. Thank you again for joining us today. We would love to hear from you in the chat, your words of love for libraries, and we will share some of your words as we conclude this afternoon. Thank you again for being with us and for sharing your love for libraries. Thank you to everyone for joining us in the chat. Library is my favorite place of solace. Libraries are the home for so many stories. Love libraries and librarians. Sending love to Beinecke for sharing love poetry and writing with us on this Valentine's Day.
I like the entry, a place to be alone but never lonely.
Terrific. Thank you to Justin, who writes, "Thank you all, you generous and hardworking librarians." And I wonder, Michelle, if I might invite you back on camera, if you could join. I think you would co-sign that the love as I do and we all do for librarians.
Yes, I appreciate all of the comments about generous and hardworking librarians and appreciation for today's program and organizing us all. I wanted to express also appreciation for the imagery of the big fish tank in the public library when I was a child. We have Alyssa Rodkey writing about how now, instead of fish of many colors and varieties, she loves libraries for archival gems like the one shared today. So with that appreciation, I'll keep scrolling through this lovely list.
My heart grows full as my mind expands within the pages that your doors protect. That does our hearts well to know of the life-giving and expansive powers of what is kept in libraries such as this one, across Yale Library Special Collections and amongst our colleagues around the country and around the world. Our beloved colleague, Allison Cunningham, says, deeply appreciate the range and inclusivity of today's works, from the Gutenberg to Alice B. and Gertrude. So thank you for that. We'd also be willing to take, if you have suggestions, if you think we should keep this up as a tradition and do another love letters and Valentines next year. If you have thoughts on things to include, you can share them now and obviously in the future. We have one yes with an exclamation point. We have a you must. Michelle, I'll ask you, are you willing to make an executive decision? Will we do this again next year?
Absolutely. This was a wonderful event, and maybe we might have to do it on a different day if we keep up our Monday tradition, but certainly celebrating all the expressions of love, or just a tiny sampling of the expressions of love in our collections. That would be a great yearly tradition.
We can look to see whether there's a suggestion, love letters from or to librarians next year. We do have the Dorothy Porter Wesley papers and others, so there may well be in the collection such letters. Thank you to Terry Marsh for seeing the intimacy of the actual letters is so beautiful, and we're grateful to have the opportunity on Zoom to share images, and look forward to the time in the future when even more will be able to see them in person. And thank you to Claire for sharing in the chat all the links. Many of the items that you saw are available in the digital collections, and of course there are many, many more items available.
I love the comment live by Olga. Libraries are the best people I know. So thinking about how lovely and warm the marble, the light coming through the marble in the Beinecke can be, thinking of the space as a place of joy as well. So thanks for that.
There's a bold comment, better than chocolate.
It's a nice
might need
comment
to
from Mary.
include-
Oh, I'm sorry, Tobias.
No, it's fine. It's saying we might need to include chocolate in our next installment next year somehow. Obviously not in the library, but I mean, whether that needs to be virtual or what.
Well, if we're in the library next year, we can provide some chocolate, right? Right, Mike? Right, Michelle?
Mary wrote, "So quiet with so many voices just under the covers." So true.
Yeah, to quote Cynthia there, let's get cozy together.
One thing I will say, reading from the Georgia OKeefe and the Stieglitz material, you know, it is such a great read, because even talking about such normal things, they write it like such love poetry. And certainly from the two excerpts that Claire and I read are, you know, an attestation to that, but that is certainly worth looking into, and we should as a institution look to digitize more of those. But it definitely is a nice sit down read under a cover and getting cozy with some chocolate for sure.
It's nice to see we have somebody who's chimed in that they were enjoying chocolate at home as we were reading. So it's good to know that happening.
And as someone who would directly benefit from this, I like Cynthia's comment that librarians should be treated by Yale to a chocolate of the month club. I am all in on that.
I'll add a bibliographic detail. So the volume that the Stieglitz OKeefe letters came from was published by Yale Press. It's 830 pages, and that only selects the letters, selected letters from 1915 to 1933. There's more to come. They wrote a lot.
Well, this has been marvelous. Again, my thanks to all 7 of our extraordinary readers who are all wonderful colleagues in the library, on campus, and in the community. To our audience of nearly 200 over the course of this Mondays at Beinecke, thank you for your participation and your library love today. We wish everyone a great Valentine's Day. Look forward to seeing you if you can join us next Monday and in future Mondays at Beinecke, as well as some date around Valentine's Day for the new tradition of love letters and Valentines. Thank you all. Have a great day.